Hi Satnam, it's me Shakti Sundari. This video is called Women Want to Awaken. So, quite a few people have forwarded to me an article about a tantric teacher called Shantam Nityama, also called the Tantric Mongoose, amongst other things. And in that article that is written by a woman, sorry, I can't remember her name, who's focusing very much in her work on bringing to light areas where women have been purportedly abused. And in this article, she takes a segment from one of the interviews that I did a couple of years ago with Shantam Nityama, as I guess showing an example of the way that he works. And I just want to speak to that sort of in a bit of a tangent. I am going to do a live stream about that specifically quite soon as well. But as I was reflecting on what had happened in that interview with Shantam Nityama and what I experienced in his presence, that was at the Tantra Festival in Byron Bay in Australia a few years ago. And as I was reflecting on that, and I was also reflecting on the prevalence of abuse and very many tantric teachers and gurus and spiritual masters being outed at the moment in terms of their abusive or narcissistic tendencies, I really wanted to speak to another part of that dynamic and what I perceive and what came up for me, which is that women really, really want to awaken. And Shantam Nityama and other teachers like him are really tapping into that longing and that desire for awakening, which is particularly strong in the feminine. I think that's, I'm going to speak about the feminine because that's what I know most about. That's where my work focuses, and I don't see it so much in that way so clearly with men and the masculine. So just for example, when I was at the Tantra Festival in Australia in Byron Bay, and when I interviewed Shantam Nityama, I'm sorry, I can't think of the dates right now, it's about 2 years ago, we were in a big auditorium and the room was full, probably several hundred people in the space, and all of the people in the space pretty much were on tenterhooks, in awe, super excited to be in the presence of this tantric master who was very much respected and revered. And the women especially were almost kind of sitting forward on their seats, wanting to be touched and moved and stirred and awakened by not just the words coming out of this man's mouth, but the energy that he transmits. What does he do? What is it he's transmitting? What's going on there? Well, what I experienced him talking about, I've got notes somewhere and I haven't looked at them, but it was very much about the masculine-feminine polarity and how that is so distorted in the world and how that needs to change in order for us to really step into the potential of who we are. And a lot of what he said was not politically correct whatsoever, but very much of what he said with his words resonated with me profoundly as truth. And at the same time, what I experienced was his energy being so strong that my Kundalini energy was in flow simply as a result of sitting in the room with him. And that was going on for a few women next to me and sitting with him. So what is happening there? Well, here's my interpretation. Certain people, when they are awakened and really tapped into the energy of the cosmos, as you know, we are all energy, right? So when they are in our presence and they're vibrating at that particular frequency, if we are open and receptive, then we begin to vibrate in resonance with them. So that is what I experience. And when my Kundalini energy flows in that way, what I experience is ripples in my body, shudders in my body, experiences of feeling ecstatic, blissful, surrendering more and wanting to surrender more and more to that flow of energy. It's beautiful. I love it. I enjoy it. And if I feel safe and relaxed, I'll let myself go into it. So it's a choice that I make. What Nityama did for most of those 2 hours of his workshop was talk about these things and talk about the longing of the feminine and how the masculine can awaken the feminine with his presence. And one of the things that he said that really resonated for me, and I think practically everyone in the room just sighed audibly with relief to hear him say it, is a man's job is not to take himself to the woman, it's to take the woman to herself. So I felt here was a man who understood what I needed to be aroused deeply on every level, who got me and who had the power to awaken my sexual energy and flow that through me without even touching me. And for me, yes, that was appealing, that was seductive, that was delicious. I enjoyed it. And you know, I've been going through life on this path for many, many years, and following a longing in my heart for God, following a longing in my heart for truth, following a longing in my body for sacred sexuality and divine union. So meeting a man who can awaken that in me is very precious and very rare. There are other teachers who have that same effect, but in a different way. So, for example, when I sit in presence with the spiritual teacher, also a tantric master, but of a very different lineage, Bernie Pryor, who also goes by the name B now. Again, when I sit in his presence, my energy is awakened, my mind goes blank, I feel completely ecstatic and at one with the all. And again, I understand that that is because this is where he is vibrating, and I begin to vibrate at that level with him. For me, that is also a form of making love, but a more elevated way. So, yeah, certain people hold that frequency and hold that energy, and different people hold different frequencies and different energies. Again, also having had the experience myself personally of being with a few lovers, not very many, it's been quite rare, who have the capacity through their physical embodiment of presence to awaken the Kundalini energy that is in me and flowing through me all the time. Simply by standing there, they could just be standing some distance away from me, and through the impact of their presence, my energy begins to move, or perhaps through their voice, or perhaps through a very subtle movement in the energy field, nowhere near my body. So we are energy beings. We have energy bodies. Kundalini is life force or sexual energy. It is the energy of awakening. It flows quite naturally and freely through an awakened, receptive, open body. What gets in the way of that for most people is layers and layers of conditioning and layers of mind. So that all has to kind of go before we can have that experience. But to come back to the longing that I perceived in practically every woman in that auditorium in Nityama's talk, that longing is for the self. And what I wanted to say to that is that longing to be touched, that longing to be with a man who knows how to evoke your sexual energy and flow it through your body, who knows how to really awaken you. is a very understandable and natural desire, and that is a desire for not just sexual awakening, for spiritual awakening, even if you don't know it. And there are two things. The feminine is naturally inclined in that kind of dynamic to go into surrender and letting go. It's very hard to resist the flow of that energy once it begins, and the natural inclination is to let go and open to it. And at the same time, we live in a very submissive society where there has been an imbalance of power for centuries. Typically, man power, woman submissive, but not always, but that's been the paradigm. And so there is also mixed up with this the belief that we need somebody else to heal us. We need somebody else to awaken us. We need somebody else to touch us somewhere so that something happens inside us. And what I want to say to that is, it's all within you. So women, you don't need to go to a man to touch you in a particular way for that energy to awaken within you. That can happen within your own being through your own self-practice. Also, you don't need to give your power away at any time. You do not need to surrender to anybody at any time. You are the sovereign mistress of your domain, of your sexual energy, of your body, of your holy sanctity, of your yoni, of your womb. And that energy you can awaken. So know that that power is yours. Somebody is not putting something in you or drawing something down from the heavens and giving it to you. It's already within, and you have the capacity to open to that within yourself. You can do it all yourself. Yes, sometimes we need a teacher. Yes, sometimes we need a healer. This can all be really helpful. But and I totally understand that yearning to awaken. It is powerful in all of us. I see so many women who are not living in their radiant, truthful potential, whose spirits are crushed, whose bodies are made small, whose spirit is made small, who are not in touch with their bodies, who are not in touch with their sexuality. And the longing is for the soul to know itself once again. That's what the true yearning and longing is. And we can go around projecting that out onto men, projecting that out onto teachers. And actually, ladies, the guru is within, the goddess is within, the Shiva is within. It's all within. Okay, I'm just going to have a sip of my tea. So that hunger that you feel to go to a spiritual teacher like that, to lay on the couch and to have him give you an energy orgasm, you know, it's not going to magically shift everything in your whole life. You can begin to tap into and access that sexual energy yourself. You don't need to go and lay on a couch in a submissive posture and have somebody do something to you. There's such an obsession at the moment in the neo-tantra scene with workshops on having energy orgasms. Yes, have an energy orgasm, and then what? And then what? This energy is a very powerful energy of awakening. It cleanses and clears blocks anywhere in the system, in the body, in your energy field, and kind of washes through. But it also brings up anything in the subconscious which has been buried. And to do that overnight in one go can be quite an overwhelming experience. And once again, there is the danger that we put the responsibility for our awakening and for our sexuality and for our pleasure in the hands of somebody else. It's not in anybody else's hands but yours. So that's really kind of, where did I put my glasses? I put them down somewhere. Just wanted to see who's there. Okay. Oh, hi. I can't see unless I put my glasses on. I want to know if you're getting what I'm saying, if that makes sense. Yeah, that's kind of my thing, is that yes, we want to awaken. The hunger is strong, the desire is strong, but first learn how to connect with your body, your energy, your sexuality yourself. Learn how to activate it yourself. Don't put it all on somebody else and give your power away to them. Know that it is within you and you are powerful already. Healing is not going to be some magical overnight thing. Awakening, more than likely, although it does happen, is not going to be some magical overnight thing. And if it was, you'd probably be so freaked out you wouldn't be able to cope with life for 3 or 4 years. You know, spontaneous Kundalini awakenings are pretty full-powered things that can make you feel insane. Do you really want that? And yes, if any guys are watching this, which I can see there's a couple of guys who are watching, there is that yearning in the feminine to be met, to be met. And I also remember seeing in the audience with Nityama's talk that confusion, that frustration, that not understanding in the men in the room as to what he was doing and how he did it, and wanting to figure that out, and this hunger in the women to just have a man who knew how to touch them. Well, coming back to Nityama's words, and I'm talking about touch right before we get physical. Touch can be from a long distance away on many different energetic levels, but it's like the man's job is to bring the woman to herself, not to bring himself to the woman. So that was the key message that I took from that. Anyway, to conclude, I just want to say, women, if you watch this, I teach awakening, but in a very different way, and it's a way that empowers you and gives you the responsibility for claiming your sovereignty right from the start. My Awakening Shakti online group program is all about this, and it's a 9-month program, not one day where you come online a couch and I activate your sexual energy, which I can do if you want, but you know, to me it's not really about that. It's about you making long-lasting changes within yourself and taking responsibility for yourself. Yeah, that's what I want to say. So if you're interested in that, I'll post the details below, and also I'm going to post the link below to the original article which talks about Nityama's abusive behaviour. I make no comment on that right now. I am going to do a live stream about it very soon, and I'll let you know when that's going to be. So curious to hear what you have to say, what your experience is, what your thoughts are, and thank you very much for being with me and watching. Sat Nam.